The Americas. Inuit, the people. Some of the Inuit people of the Arctic Circle inhabit Alaska, Canada, and Greenland, and have been called Eskimos. These North American tribes, however, are only a part of a culture which spans the northern parts of America, Europe, and Asia. Inuit culture began in Asia. The Siberian Yupik are closely related to the Evenks that we discussed in the shamanism of East Asia. They are also related to the Sami people of northwest Russia and large parts of Finland, Sweden, and Norway. While the Indo-Europeans from Mongolia to Spain were riding horses, the Sami and Evenk tribes used reindeer for transportation. Through ingenuity, the Inuit are able to live around the snowy Arctic Circle. Some of the Yupik traveled from Siberia to Alaska. They invented kayaks and larger boats called umiaks for travel and fishing. On the American continent, they used dog sleds for land travel, and they made dwellings called igloos out of ice blocks. American Inuit tribes go from the Yupik in the west to the Kalalit in Greenland. The Norse traded goods with the Inuit of Greenland several hundred years before Columbus. In recent years, many Inuit have moved from Greenland to Denmark. The ancient Inuit are called the Thule culture. The two are linked culturally, linguistically, and genetically. Inuit people physically resemble the majority of people in East Asian countries such as China, Vietnam, and Mongolia. Inuit religious practices are shamanistic and animistic. A shaman is called an angakuk. Rituals, such as when a baby is born, include drumming and singing. Inuit diet is primarily seal, whale, seaweed, and bear. Bears are hunted for food and for clothing, but parts of a bear are displayed in the home as a shrine to the spirit that once inhabited it. This is because of the understanding that all things have spirit, life, energy, consciousness. Native tribes of North America. Just like other lands on Earth, the Americas have seen many waves of cultures. Just in the last couple of centuries, U.S. territory went from a large population of native tribes to a population of over 90% white Europeans. It is now swinging back to a mixture of various races and cultures. According to native tribes like the Navajo, the Creator made 4 races of humans, which are called red, yellow, black, and white. They say that they are the red race, but experts say that they came from an early wave of people from Asia. However, people have traveled to America from many parts of the world over the millennia. The ancient world was much more connected than we are taught to believe. Ignorant Europeans of the 1500s decided to call the American tribes they found Indians, even though India is on the other side of the world. The political correctness of the 1990s used the term Native Americans, even though that should apply to anyone born in America. It has gone back to American Indians, but as an African American is someone of African descent and born in America, an Indian American is of Indian descent from India. Canada has given the designation of First Nations to native tribes, but that does not include the Inuit tribes. Not only are Inuit tribes Native American, but all tribes of North, Central, and South America are Native American. Before our modern borders were made, there was interaction between the tribes of North and South America. There are over 500 North American tribes, and they developed various languages. However, like African tribes, American tribes share more commonalities than differences. Some of the larger tribes include the Inuit tribes of the Arctic and subarctic, Nez Perce, Salish, and Tlingit of the Northwest, known for their cedar homes and carved totem poles. Totems symbolically tell the stories of ancestors. Blackfoot, Arapaho, Cheyenne, Comanche, Sioux, Dakota, and Crow of the Central Plains of the U.S. and Canada. They traveled in tents called teepees as they hunted bison. Iroquois, Shawnee, Pawnee, Ottawa, and Mohawk of the Northeast, These tribes also made canoes to travel the rivers and Great Lakes. Cherokee, Chickasaw, and Seminole of the Southeast, Mojave, Ohlone, and Miwok of the California coast, and the Washoe, Shoshone, and Ute of the Great Basin. Navajo, Apache, and Hopi, which is one of the tribes of the Pueblo people of the Southwest. They are known for their brick buildings, pottery, jewelry, and ancient rock inscriptions called petroglyphs. Pueblo diet consisted of the three sisters, squash, corn, and beans. Pueblo tribes include the Hopi, Zuni, and Carasan. They are of the southwest U.S. and North Mexico. Pueblo temples or religious structures are called kivas. A kiva is built underground with the entrance on top. Inside is a sacred fire and a symbolic hole called a sipapu. Like other North American tribes, and the rest of the world for that matter, the Pueblo believe in the Great Spirit, which is the unity of the cosmos. They also believe in spirits that reside in all things, and objects which are called kachina. Kachinas are the gods, the spirits of ancestors, and the life in living things. Kachinas are worshipped through ceremonial dances, where masked dancers take on the spirit of a particular kachina. They are also depicted in carved figurines similar to the idols of Asia and Europe, and the fetishes of Africa. The figurines have been mistakenly called dolls. Each tribe has its own chief or king. They also have medicine people or shamans. The shamanism of the Americas is virtually identical to that of Asia and Africa. Drumming, dancing, singing, costumes, trance, etc. Temples of northern tribes are called sweat lodges. They are dome-shaped to symbolize the womb of the earth. A symbol of peace between trading tribes is the smoking of a ceremonial pipe. Many tribes erected burial mounds and other mound structures, which practice stems from the earlier mound builder culture that made flat-topped pyramids more than 5,500 years ago. Aztec, people of Aztlan, aka Mexica. South of the Pueblo people in present-day Mexico was the Aztec Empire, which lasted from 500 to 1500 CE. Before Europeans came in and took over, the Aztec culture flourished with trade, military, arts, writing, agriculture, and religion. Aztec religion, as in other parts of the world, included temples, myths, and worship of the gods through offerings, songs, dances, and prayer. The European Christians forced Catholicism on the Aztecs, but unlike the tribes of the north that were mostly killed off and forced onto reservations, the native tribes of Central and South America mixed with the Europeans and made a new mestizo race and culture now called Latino. Aztecs built step pyramids and platform-top mounds. They are also known for their calendar. Aztec language is called Nahuatl. Their culture was influenced by neighboring lands, and it was a continuation of the earlier Mayan and Olmec cultures. Zapotec. From 500 to 1500 CE, the Aztecs called these people Zapotecatl because they lived in Zapote. But the Zapotecs referred to themselves as Be'ena'a, meaning the people. They believed that their ancestors came from the sky and called them Be'enaza'a, the cloud people. Toltec, artisans. Toltec culture lasted from 900 to 1100 CE alongside the Aztecs. They claimed that the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl founded their culture. Like the Aztecs and Mayans, Toltecs built pyramids and ball courts. But they wore beards and hats, and they carved human figures on rows of columns that are now referred to as the Atlantean figures. Columns are common in Mayan and Egyptian courtyards, but the Toltec columns are artistically unique. Olmec, rubber people. The Olmec culture in the San Lorenzo area lasted from 600 BCE to 400 BCE. However, it sprang out of the older Mesoamerican culture beginning around 2500 BCE. Not knowing what they called themselves, the Aztecs called them the rubber people, because of their skilled use of rubber tree sap. Olmecs are famous for their colossal heads, and other sculptures made of jade and obsidian. Their depictions of humans ranged from people with African features to modern Asian traits. Some even looked like bearded Europeans. The Olmecs also built pyramids and walled cities, traded with distant lands, and played the Mesoamerican ballgame. In art, they depicted the feathered serpent god and their rain god, who the Aztecs later called Quetzalcoatl and Chaac. It is said that they are the first to use the number 0, and that they invented their own calendar, the compass, chocolate, and popcorn. Maya. Farming communities existed in the Yucatan since 6000 BCE. A distinct mother culture appeared circa 2500 BCE, which archaeologists have equated with either the Maya or the Olmecs. However, distinctly Mayan cities began between 700 and 500 BCE. This Mayan culture interacted with the Olmecs, later with the Aztecs, and ended when the last Mayan city fell to the Europeans in 1697. The Maya built their pyramids on top of older platform mounds. This has been practiced the world over. The 12,000-year-old sacred site of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey was buried and built over several times. Coricancha is a colonial church built on an Incan temple that was built on a sacred site of the Quilque in Peru. Whether the Maya were reusing ancient Olmec sites or their own, the fact is that the various groups of Mesoamerica borrowed from each other and reused older structures. Some of the shared traits are ritual plazas and temples, blood sacrifices, architectural and sculptural style, similar calendars and celebrations, similar mythologies, and similar writing styles. The Maya had astronomical observatories and used hieroglyphic writing. The proverbial elephant in the room is the similarity between Aztec, Mixtec, and Mayan hieroglyphics with the hieroglyphics of ancient Egypt, and the fact that American pyramids resemble those of Africa and Asia. As the stone is not made of organic material, it is impossible to date the pyramids with radiocarbon dating. Because of this, scientists do their best to connect the structures with other findings that might give clues. So a building that was constructed 10,000 years ago could have been used by a new group of people 2,000 years ago who left traces of their lifestyle, and it gets dated as 2,000 years old. It may be that the pyramid builders of the world belong to a civilization that is now lost to us. But traces have survived which have been reused, rebuilt, and copied by other civilizations. However, if the conventional dates are correct, we must conclude that the Old World and New World were in contact 4,500 years ago, because that is when the Sumerians and Elamites made their ziggurats, the Egyptians made their step pyramids, and the Mesoamericans built their temple complexes. The biblical story of the Tower of Babel states that the builders of the tower, ziggurat, were scattered into different lands and languages. The Mayan Popol Vuh relates that they came from such a place. The LDS Book of Mormon story claims that a group left Babylon around 2500 BCE and crossed the ocean by boat to the Americas and became known as the Jaredites. Like the Olmec, the Jaredites died off around 400 BCE, after coming in contact with the Nephites. The Nephites were a group that came to the American continent from the Middle East around 600 BCE, which would line them up with the Maya. Inca. The Inca Empire of South America only lasted for 100 years. The reason it is so well known is because it was what the Europeans found when they got there. The same is true for the Aztecs. Although vast and powerful, the Inca culture was a bookend of many South American cultures. The cradle of this civilization began on the west coast of Peru by the Sechin River. Human activity in this area dates back to 9,200 BCE. The earliest civilization is called the Norte Chico civilization. The Norte Chico farmed cotton to make clothes, nets, bags, and quipu, a writing system that uses ropes and knots. They made pyramids and platformed mounds using stone masonry. They played musical instruments such as flutes that were carved out of pelican bone. They worshipped a staff-holding god whose image later became the Inca god Viracocha. Next came the Paracas culture from 1200 to 100 BCE. Another Andean culture alongside the Paracas was the Chavin culture. From 100 BCE to 750 CE was the Nazca culture. At the same time as the Nazca culture was the neighboring Moche culture. The Tiwanaku Empire began 300 CE and lasted until 1150 CE. A rival of the Tiwanaku was the Wari Empire. Before the arrival of the Inca in the region of Cusco, it was the land of the Quilque culture. Quilque people built city walls, streets, an aqueduct, and a pre-Inca temple in Cusco. The Quilque also mummified their dead. The time from 1200 to 1438, called the Kingdom of Cusco, is when the Inca took over the city-state of Cusco. Through war and conquest, the Inca created an empire that lasted from 1438 to 1533. The Inca are the most famous for their religious center Machu Picchu, which is a complex of temples, gardens, a graveyard, a bathhouse, a truncated pyramid, living quarters for the emperor and for the guards, and a courtyard in the center. Although Machu Picchu was used by the Inca, the ruins clearly show older styles of masonry that were added to by the Inca. At least 3 different cultures used this as a religious center. The Inca, like the Aztecs and Maya, practiced bloodletting and human sacrifice. They also gave food offerings to the gods. The omnipresent god of the sky is called Viracocha, and much emphasis is placed on Mother Earth, Pachamama, as well. The spirits of the mountains, Apu, are also venerated. Like the Maya and the Pawnee, and all other ancient cultures, the Inca paid close attention to the stars and had big festivals for celestial events like solstices and equinoxes. Today, 500 years after the Spanish took over the land, there are still some who speak Quechua, and a revival of the Inca religion is happening with shamans administering the mind-altering drink ayahuasca to those looking for spiritual answers. Mapuche. The Inca overcame many tribes like the Chanca, but battles with the Mapuche to the south ended in stalemates. The Mapuche culture of the southern Andes, present-day Chile, has lasted from 600 BCE to the present. Like other Native American tribes, the Mapuche practice shamanism. A female shaman is called a machi. A calcu is one who uses black magic to call on bad spirits called wekufe. They share basic world myths like a global flood and a war of the gods, Piyan. There are gods that live in the heavens and gods that live under volcanoes. It is believed that humans have the ability to become gods after death. They are known to practice human and animal sacrifice. Mapuche villages today are strongly hostile towards the Latinos of Chile. Just as the Mapuche managed to fend off the Inca, the Purepecha in Mexico were never conquered by the Aztecs. The Purepecha tribe were experts in metalworking, which fact made them an important empire in trade. They had their own set of gods that synchronized well with the other pantheons of the world. Similarities abound throughout all the tribes. To mention a few more, there is the Macushi from present-day Brazil, Guyana, and Venezuela. The Muisca from Colombia share many traditions with North American tribes like the Mohegan of Connecticut. The Taino people, natives of the Caribbean, also have traditions about myths and the gods that are similar to those of the Aztecs and Mapuche.